I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody to the Laverne Planning Commission November 27th, 2018 regular meeting at 6 p.m. We do have a quorum. First item of business, approved meeting minutes from October 30th, 2018 regular meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
A motion to accept. I will make a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. First off, we have a new board, and I'd like to welcome everybody here, and let's get this going. First item, site plan, Mid-10 Express, requested by Civil Site Design Group. Property located at 161 Jones Boulevard, tax map 17, parcel 7.13, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Mr. Carrar. Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This site is on Jones Boulevard and 161 Jones Boulevard, and the applicant actually came to the city a few months ago around August, and at that time they were proposing to build a one-story facility to go along with the tractor-trailer storage and parking, and subsequently they dropped the plans for the building and now are just planning on building essentially a parking lot for storage of the tractor trailers. This site is 2.11 acres, and it is zoned I-2, and it has I-2 on three sides. It does back up to an R2 zone, so you'll see on the plan in the packet there is a more dense buffer in the rear, and it's not in the overlay district, so the Waldron Road overlay district standards do not apply to the site. There's some photos that were taken. It's just a vacant lot, and down the road is some more buildings on Jones that went through site plan in the last year, and they're under construction, and they're actually warehouse and storage buildings. And you'll see here on the site plan that one of our comments all along has been that they have to have a 100% dustless surface, and so they are supplying that, and they're just leaving this space that was on there in August. They're leaving that space for future development in case they ever do build that one-story building. And they have, I know, worked with the Planning Commission on widening this apron here at Jones Boulevard at their ingress-egress. And without a building, there's not a lot of technical details for that, but again, the parking lot is dustless, and the proposed use is tractor-trailer storage. And staff has also looked at the sidewalk requirement, and staff recommends that the fee in lieu be applied in this situation. And I think that's all the comments, unless Mr. Leach has something to add. Thank you.
Mr. Leach, anything?
No, sir.
Any questions or comments from the board?
So 6 items have been addressed from the workshop? 6 items?
That is correct. Both mine and Bo's comments from the workshop have been addressed, and additionally, technical item number 1 indicates the fee in lieu amount.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the applicant working with us on the beautification. They added some trees per our requirements or request, and with that, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
We have a motion to accept as submitted. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Nay? Nay.
No, I'd like to discuss some things on this. So you say they meet all the stormwater requirements for a parking lot?
That is correct.
So is there going to have to be an oil water separator added to it? I don't see it.
We typically don't require them just for parking. The oil and water separators are usually used in spots that have equipment washing, servicing, oil changes, that type of thing.
But with the future, it will set me at ease with the future plans there for that property. If a oil water separator isn't put on for the discharge of storm water, would that fall under the Stormwater Act?
If they were to build a service facility there, we would make them put in an and water separator when they come back to this planning commission, but for just a parking lot, we haven't ever required it before. It would be akin to asking Walmart to put in an oil and water separator, or every gas station. You know, anywhere that's standing vehicle would stay, we'd start asking for it, which has not been the practice of our stormwater department or most municipalities.
Is there something we can put in there if they come back and add the building? It will be required to have the oil water separator? With this passing tonight, with the understanding that it passes tonight? Is that something?
You can put in a provision, I believe, Nick, on passing it, that future would have to have it. Typically, stipulations like that would be put in on the plan, but since it has to come back anyway, usually it would just be up to the board and the engineer at the time, whomever that would be, if it comes back in 10 or 20 years, to apply the standards. If they just came and put an office building, there wouldn't be a requirement for an oil and water separator because it would be an office building and wouldn't fall under those uses that we usually request an oil and water separator for.
Okay.
And just so you understand, at the moment, this is only approving it's a parking lot only, that there's no building.
Right.
They put a building up, they're going to come back, and then we can ask for additional requirements at that point.
Okay, so they will have to come back in front of the.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank
before
you
they
for
can do
answering that.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we had,
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend, since there wasn't really a full aye or nay and there was discussion had, that there be a voice vote now. If discussion is ended, you might want to ask to call the question. If so, you got a motion that's been seconded, and you can go ahead and take a voice vote.
perfect. Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? With that, I'll take a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Aye.
No, because I'm not big on parking lots for semis.
Understandable, ma'am. Thank you. Motion passes. On to the next item. Item number 2, site plan requested by Barge Cuthen and Associates for Laverne Retail Center, property located at 5242 Murfreesboro Road, tax map 15M, Group C, Parcel 10, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by Young Siop Han. Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This site's on Murfreesboro Road, not too far from the stormwater and planning building, and on the opposite side of the road. It's currently a vacant lot. This building here is 5242, and you'll see it in the photographs. It was built as a medical office building, so that's the building that I'm talking about. So this is the next door neighbor, and the site is here to the south and east. So this applicant is proposing a building of 4,950 square feet, and they are zoned C2, and they are in the Murfreesboro Road Overlay District, and they first came to the city in June of this year, and then they came and got up to the point of being approved, but the one outstanding issue was the TDOT, the ingress-egress for the TDOT driveway, and so they had to go through the permitting process, and it took a while. So that's when they came back. I think it was October by that time, so June essentially to October. But the building is still 4,950 square feet, and that hasn't changed. They are providing 24 parking spaces where 19 are provided, and that's a view of the parking at 5242, which would be to the right in the photograph. And these homes back up. So this is a residential district that backs up to this site. And those are actually, that's Glendale Drive here. And these homes are actually zoned C2 already. So looks like there's been a rezoning that took place there at some point, but as far as I know, they're still used as residences. So I think at the last meeting, might have been Commissioner Coates asked about the rear property line and the buffer. You can see those homes again here along Glendale. And the other outstanding comment was, being in the overlay district, they needed to submit a materials board. And I did speak to the applicant before the meeting, and I believe they brought that tonight, so, for you all to review. And that would be all the planning comments. I'll let Mr. Leach speak to his comments. Thank you.
Mr. Leach?
Mr. Chairman, as typically required, we request that initial and final erosion control sheets be included in every submission. The initial submission that they made in June, I believe, did include those. Their resubmission did not. I assume it was just an omission. And once they had their driveway figured out with the inclusion of the sidewalk, I've requested that all slopes greater than a 2.5 horizontal to 1 vertical be permanently stabilized, just to assist in mowing, because they're going to be fairly steep and those are difficult for our maintenance crews to maintain.
Is that all, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board?
Let's bring the applicant up. Let's find out why do we get the initial and final erosion control sheets. Can somebody from the
Is there a representative of this application here this evening? Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Kevin Legible, address 4011 Armory Oaks Drive, Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Coates?
So, appreciate you bringing the colour board in. What the issues with the initial and final erosion control sheets? So staff didn't get those. What happened with those?
Those must have been omitted. We've had our civil engineer kind of leave the company, so it was kind of a scramble to gather the necessary materials.
And what about all the slopes greater than 0.25? What are you
I
going to
think
handle?
that was a comment brought up way back in June, and those have been addressed.
Mr. Leach?
And the one provided to us last time, I did not see it called out specifically, which is usually, if I put a comment down, I need to have it called out specifically. So it may have been addressed, but I need to see it in writing.
Okay.
So obviously we've got two outstanding issues. Obviously you understand that. I mean, so we appreciate bringing the colour board in, but with the two technical items we need to address, you have basically two options. One is to defer and address two items, or we have to vote on it. So if you want to defer, then let us know, and we can move on. If not, we have to vote on it.
Go ahead and defer.
Thank you, sir. A request for deferral has been made.
So you know what to bring. You know what you need to supply to staff. You understand what they need.
And I'll send an email in the morning and get the verbal confirmation. So
Appreciate it. Thank you very
all
much.
right, thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll be moving on to the next item. Number 3, site plan requested by Frederick Guglia for addition to Hot Topic, property located at 6001 Reliance Drive, tax map 17, parcel 37.01, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Hot Topic, Tennessee. And I believe this item has been deferred, Mr. Logan?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir. New business, item number 4. Site plan requested by Morton Buildings for 113 Cheerful Place, property located at 113 Cheerful Place, tax map 17J, Group A, parcel 15, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Mary Albright. Mr. Logan?
Thank you. This site is at 113 Cheerful Place, and about 18 months ago, this building in the photograph was approved and then constructed sometime in 2017, and I think it finished maybe in late 2017, maybe in the fall of that year. And now the applicant is building another building in this location to the north of Building 1, and they are proposing that the second building will be 2,452 square feet, and the existing building in the photograph is 2,520 square feet. So also along with the building, they're constructing a parking area with parking places and associated driveway. The sidewalk requirement for this site, staff did review that and is recommending the fee in lieu. There is no sidewalk system in this area. So I think that was one of the factors that was considered. The plan, and I had talked with some of the members of the Planning Commission just a few minutes ago. So we received one full-size site plan in the set of all the architectural drawings. And so this is the one full-size plan that we have. So you can see the existing buildings here of 2,520 feet, and then building 2 would be here to the north. And then that's the existing house that you saw in the photographs. And then the parking area and the parking lot would be extended to the north, and the parking spaces added. And the building setbacks are shown on this sheet, which we were missing last month, and we were missing a lot of the technical details of the buildings last month. So those have been added, as well as a diagram that shows the parking spaces. So I think in your packets there are 2 or 3, they're like 8.5 by 11 that show this. And so that's what had to go in the packets because we only received the one full-size sheet. So we do have a ton of architectural drawings, which we don't need, but we don't have the site plan.
Okay.
We have one copy of it, so it's in our office, and this is it on the screen. And you can see some of the details there, like it says new concrete area here for the parking, and I think that takes care of the technical details. I don't see any engineering comments, so just the fee and lieu.
Very good. Any questions or comments from the board? I'm going to go ahead and bring the applicant up
Yeah.
to the podium, if you would.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just a little bit miffed at this. I mean, we sat at the workshop and we had an issue with plans and drawings. We're now at the meeting with the same issue. I mean, I'm looking at a drawing from the workshop that's not signed by the engineer. I just can't, I'm missing something. They're meant to supply 9 pieces, 9 sets, and we don't happen to look at.
Well,
I really have an issue approving it when we're not even looking at the final transaction.
well, I think the best order would be, Mr. Albright, if you could come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jack Albrecht. My address is 113 Cheerful Place. That's where our company is Perfection.
Okay.
And we delivered all the drawings to you. Somewhere or another, they got lost here.
I think it's the copies of the site plan that need to be stamped, correct?
They-
Yeah, I delivered all those.
They were all delivered here.
Stacked in the front, with the lady up front, and set them in there. I talked to him today about it. They said they're gonna look for them again. I delivered 11 copies.
Sir, can you come to the podium, just so we can?
Please, and state your name and address.
Sure.
I'm Chase
Thank you, Mr.
Davidson,
Church.
109 Cheerful Place. Yeah, I delivered them before the last meeting, and then last time we're here, he said he was gonna, y'all were gonna look for them and try to find them, so I called them again, and they said they had the plans, but I literally stacked, folded them all, with the lady up front, I forgot her name,
Right.
put those all together, set them in the pile in the conference room to the left. I mean, I went to FedEx, we got them from more buildings, I mean, I had everything, I mean,
And I understand that we're trying to move forward,
Yeah.
but without everything in order, I think we need to either.
We have, as I said, we have a ton of architectural drawings for this project, but they're not the site, they're not this. And I don't doubt that there are stacks and stacks of plans there, but they're not the site plans.
Asking for something that's like this.
That's what we had.
yeah, that's what I folded, 11 of
That's what we
those.
had.
I folded like
Sir,
a,
sir,
They're
are
all
they
stamped?
civil drawings or architectural drawings? Which one are they?
The- These are the civil drawings.
yeah, I mean, they were the ones that I got from you, and I literally stacked 11 exactly like that on top of each
But
other.
are they civil or are they architectural?
These are civil.
Yeah.
Let me see them.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is the point. The submitted, I don't know, the copy that we actually reviewed that had a complete set of civil drawings also had architectural. So it was a combination set. Of that combination set, the ones that we had at last meeting, they didn't have all the civil drawings that we required. They did furnish us a copy, which we reviewed, in which the technical comments were cleared, as you'll see in your report. but we don't have any additional copies of a full civil. We have tons of architectural. I mean, I think we have probably 23 plans, architectural details, but they don't have the full civil set. We only had the one that was provided by Mr. Albrecht at the meeting that we did review and cleared the technical comments from.
So we're just missing copies at this point.
Essentially, we're missing the copies that would have been provided to y'all.
Is there a chain of custody procedure from the individuals, the contractors, to the city?
Typically, they're given a receipt, but our administrative staff, they don't review plans, so if you tell one of our admins that you gave them 7 sets of plans, they will say, we got 7 sets of plans. And that's as
Sir,
far
do you have a receipt saying that you provided this to the city?
Do not. I just sat down with the lady on their building over there and folded them with her and stacked them all together for like an hour. And last time we met, they said they were gonna look for them.
And the set, yeah, that set is all together, the civil and the architectural, everything's together there.
There's 4 civil sheets in this set, but it is with the architectural.
So we can get you the civil sets, no, if I know not a problem with it, you can have that set if you want it. So,
I understand your concern. My issue is, it's been, for this board, it's been 2 weeks. You had some drawings in your hand, we discussed the workshop. And the frustration for me, being here, and here we are 2 weeks later, that we haven't got it organised between yourselves and staff, is concerning to me. I don't feel that we can be voting on a piece of paper that's going to be signed by an engineer that we don't have in front of us. I mean, I understand you've addressed all the items from what staff said, but I'm looking for, just like everyone else here tonight that's applying for it, which we approve, we've got the drawings, we know what's happened. At the moment, we don't have them in front of us. And staff saying they don't have them, you say that you supplied them, so what are we meant to do?
My recommendation would be to defer at this moment so that we can make sure we have all our paperwork in order. And let's come back next month and get it.
So next time I drop them off, what is the process so that it doesn't get lost? Who do I contact? Because
Next time you drop the paperwork off, I would like for you to see Mr. Logan directly and no one else.
And I would also like to get you a bit of paper from Mr. Logan saying he's received them, just so you have a bit of paper in hand as a receipt saying that you've actually received them. Is that fair enough? I know, I see your frustration, but I want to make sure we get this done appropriately.
I mean, is this something that we're for sure, as a city body, that it's not sitting on a desk in codes?
It's not in any of the areas that are planning
That's not what the
related.
question is. The question is, are we for sure as city staff that these individuals did not give us what we've asked for, or this board or other boards have asked for?
I looked in every room I could look in today that I have access to, and I don't have access to the whole building because I'm not authorized, if that makes sense. Like, I can't go into other people's offices. So the public spaces in my office, they're not there.
Can we, while the meeting is going on, can we send a staff member to your office to see if it's sitting in a pile somewhere? I mean, to have them continue to come back, if we have the answers for Mr. Coates, it's worth the city of Laverne's time
We've got
as well as yours.
4 more items, 5
Yeah,
more
I mean,
items, so
a
we've
10
got a few
minute,
minutes.
10 or 15 minutes, I think it's a good investment for us and for you.
I don't know if there's anybody here we can.
If y'all would suggest somebody to go,
Church.
I don't know what to do. This is unprecedented.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, I think-
a little new, and we're getting
It's
through this
okay.
If you're
together.
gonna do that, what I would do is push them to the end of the meeting.
Yes, sir, that was the
Right.
plan.
And maybe recess the meeting
Yep.
for the 10 or 15 minutes because Bo would be the one that would need to.
Would
look
have to
for it.
go.
So I would recess the meeting for the 10 or 15 minutes that y'all want, and then he can come back and state whether or not they're down there. Like I say,
Chair
this
would
set
see
does
that.
I would absolutely see that. Well, let's move y'all to the end. Let's get through these other items, and we'll see if we can't get this worked out. So this is on hold, and move to the end of the meeting. On to the next item. Site plan requested by CDC LLC for 135 Old Nashville Highway. Property located at 135 Old Nashville Highway, tax map 15M, Group B, Parcel 2, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District. Property owned by Khalil Wagdi P. Atux Bassam Mansour. Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is one of the items that we discussed a few minutes ago.
Yes, sir.
They did not attend the workshop 2 weeks ago, so it's up to this board to decide how to proceed.
Absolutely, sir. Give me 1 second. Is there a representative for this item here this evening? That makes it a little bit easier on us, board.
See, Mr. Chairman, is, just the rest of the board members know, we had the workshop, they didn't attend. They were here tonight and they're not here. So we're required by state statute to vote or get it deferred. Therefore, I'll make a motion to deny due to the technical items as presented, 1 through 13, or 15 not being addressed.
We have a motion to deny based on the technical items left.
I'll second that.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item. Final plat, Lieutenant Frank Walkup subdivision, Phase 2, requested by Womble and Associates. Property located off Jones Mill Road, east of Fergus Road. Tax map 14, PO parcel 24.13, R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District. Property owned by Abnon Friedman. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This is the Lieutenant Frank Walkup subdivision, and it is zoned R1 and located off of Jones Mill Road. And some of the site photos here. So they are making progress and have been under construction for several months. This is for Phase 2 of the subdivision, and they're proposing 14 single-family lots. And again, this is all zoned R1. You can see here on the map. And there's a lot of R1 around it to the north and east. And then there's a subdivision here across the road to the south, kind of an established neighborhood. On the plat, all of the 14 lots meet the specifications in the zoning ordinance for R1, and the lot widths are 100 feet. They're 100 feet wide, and 13 of the lots are 100 feet, and the last lot's 135 feet wide. And this is all R1, and there's no multifamily component, no condominiums, and no townhouses. It's just straight R1 zoning. And the entire subdivision is about 6.1 acres. And again, the total lot count's 14, so that's pretty much all of the high points of the subdivision. And they had no technical items at the workshop, so no comments tonight. And I guess that's the end of that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Mr. Leach, you have anything?
The construction plans have been reviewed and approved, so they're complete, at least from engineering standpoint.
Perfect. Any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question since it's
Yes,
been a
ma'am.
while. Are we requiring sidewalks in these new subdivisions now? And what about lighting, street lighting? I know there's been a lot of controversy.
Yeah, we actually shortened up the distance between street lighting
Okay.
year and a half or so ago because the distances were so far apart and due to the terrain in the city. You
Exactly.
can get dark spots. So yes, that has been addressed.
All those,
prior,
okay.
so.
That's all I need.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
With the means of egress for emergency vehicles, is a straight street with a cul-de-sac, is that what that is?
There is, unfortunately, you can't see it very well up there, but that is a temporary turnaround that will be paved at the end of it. I believe there's,
Different shot.
yeah, right there. It is a standard size turnaround, so it would be the same as any other cul-de-sac in the city. It just won't have curb placed on it, since I believe the plan is to continue on at some point in the future.
Does that work for emergency personnel?
Yes, sir. The way the fire code reads, if the street or an access road extends a certain amount, then they have to have a turnaround or said, access to it, or we can get the apparatus back out. So yes, sir, that would accommodate to the fire code as well.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, just to briefly get the rest of the board here, but this is the second phase, and this has been through several steps to get to this stage tonight. This is the final step of it. The sidewalks are on both sides of the streets. There is one lot, 203, if you look at your drawing, that has been noted with some issues that have been addressed or will be addressed by the developer. So this is the final step of the phase, and with that, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
We have a motion to accept as submitted. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Next item is number 7, preliminary plat Celebration Ridge requested by Catalyst Design Group, property located on Cherokee Drive, tax map 17C, parcel 31 and 32, R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District, property owned by Waldron Enterprises LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This is another R1 single-family development that is being proposed in Laverne, and this is located on Cherokee Drive and the intersection of Tipperary. When it's said and done, the new road alignment will actually meet with Tipperary Drive, and you can see that here. That would be Tipperary that goes off to the east. This site is approximately 14.5 acres and is zoned R1, and no rezoning was ever requested or applied for. The purpose of this plat is to create 28 lots, all for single-family development. And some of the comments from the last workshop were related to the mail kiosk, and they've now relocated the kiosk, and it's going into this open space area, or near this open space area at the front of the subdivision. And if some of you haven't heard, the USPS has come up with new regulations for subdivisions where they're making mail kiosks mandatory near the entrances of new subdivisions. So they're gonna stop home-to-home delivery. And my understanding is, in the established neighborhoods throughout the U.S., you'll be grandfathered in. But from this point forward, they won't be adding any new point-to-point delivery service. So that's the reason for the mail kiosk. This is all single-family and no townhomes and no apartments and no condominiums. And I think technical items were pretty short. I'll go back to the photos. So it's this is the end of Tipperary Drive, looking toward the property that will develop. And so right now it's heavily treed, and this concrete driveway goes with the home over here, and that'll be just north of this site. And see more of the wooded area. And then all the orange is R1, so it has R1 all around it, and then some R2 to the south along, I think that's JFK Drive. And then the church is over here. The Coptic Christian church is right here near the bend in Cherokee. So that pretty much sums it up for this project, and I don't think there's any other engineering comments either, unless Mr. Leach wants to add anything.
Anything, Mr. Leach?
Mr. Chairman, if you recall, we had a discussion in regards to the naming of the main road through the subdivision. So it can either be brought up now with the new board and discussed, or as this is a preliminary plat, you can go forward, given that anything and everything can pretty much change except for maybe the number of homes and that type of thing going forward. My personal recommendation is that when they come to do their final plat, we just have them get with Rutherford County 911, run their naming scheme by them, and if Rutherford County gives us basically a conformance letter saying that they're fine with it, there's no outside reason for us not to be fine with it, I guess is the way I would phrase that.
Understandable. The discussion was, for the board, is the name change. Tipperary is such a short street that to change from Tipperary to this proposed name on such a short distance, so we're kind of up in the air a little bit about whether to leave it as is or insist the name change down the road. But like Mr. Leach said, we can handle that at
Is
the
there
next phase.
residents already on that street?
No. No, on Tipperary there is. On the new development, no, sir. It's raw land.
So the existing street isn't being changed?
No, sir. No, sir. But they do meet head to head.
It was also because you had Celebration Ridge Lane and Celebration Hill Drive and Celebration Ridge Circle. Just
Yeah,
a lot of
that
stuff, it's all
whole
just
area.
mixed in there. And we just suggested that they take a look at that, and we can change that at a later.
That's a fire department nightmare.
And that was, and we actually, was the discussion was in regards to the emergency services. So with that, I think we'll all put some thought into that. So when it comes back before us, we'll discuss it a little further with the general consensus. And with that, no technical items, I'll entertain a motion if there's no other questions or comments.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Next item. Number 8, excuse me. Re-subdivision plat, Interchange City Industrial Parks, Lot 1 and 2, requested by Huddleston Steel, property located on Industrial Boulevard, tax map 15, parcel 26, and tax map 17, parcel 2.03. That's a little confusing, Mr. Logan. I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by JKW LLC in Trinidad, Benham. Mr. Logan, I believe you stated this item deferred?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Item deferred. With that, Mr. Logan, if you'd like to excuse yourself, and I will move on to item number 9, bonds and letters of credit with Mr. Leach.
Mr. Chairman, in your back of your packet, you will find our current bond list. The only change has been that Mr. Mitchell Bowman extended his bond for the Ridge Phase 1 for one additional year to November 20th of 2019. There is one bond that will expire next month, and I'll be reaching out to the developer to extend that for an additional year. And you'll also note that following the actions of the BOMA last week, there's a pending item for a maintenance bond for an accepted subdivision. So that bond, once I receive it, will be entered into the list. For the new board members, the bond list is basically an inventory of all the outstanding bonds that the city maintains. As things are released by me, once they have been accepted by, if it's a subdivision accepted by the BOMA or a site as accepted by staff, will release their bonds. If they fail to perform the work, we can call upon those bonds to finish the work.
As a previous board member here, when do we start taking cashier checks?
Cashier's check is considered cash, which is literally the best form of bond available. If there was a preference, I'd want everybody to do it. It's not feasible, but I can take a cashier's bank and leave to the bank and leave with cash, which is far superior to me calling a holding company in Vermont, fighting with them for 3 months.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I was here several years and I never saw it, so just curious.
Most developers don't like to do it because you have to put up cash for a cashier's check. So it is the most expensive form, but the best for us.
Very good. Any other questions?
So when we put up a cashier's bond, cashier's check, is that like a local bank?
Typically.
So what we don't want to get into is having former members on boards like we reside in, working at the bank and issuing the cashier's checks. You know, have we ran into that?
I have yet to see that. Typically, the cashier's check is backed by the bank, not by a person. So long as it's on bank, if you've had a cashier's check, it says guaranteed by Wilson Bank and Trust, for instance. As far as personal issuance, I've never seen a problem with it because banks are usually very good about backing up their own cashier's checks.
Good. Any other questions or comments? With that, we're going to take a slight recess and give Mr. Logan an opportunity.
Or if I can just interrupt, you might want to take a motion for the recess, just so it's on the record.
Thank you.
I would remind all the board members not to talk about the pending matter that we're going to come back and talk about.
Thank you, sir. We'll entertain a motion to take a recess.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We'll take a 10-minute recess or so. I think to move. I'd like to call the meeting back to order after a short recess. I think we've got it worked out. We are going to continue on with item number 4, site plan requested by Morton Building for 113 Cheerful Place, property located at 113 Cheerful Place, tax map 17J, Group A, parcel 15, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Mary Albright. Mr. Logan.
Mr. Chairman, we do have now 2 additional sets. We have one set that Adam and Bo have reviewed. I think they said all items were addressed, but we wanted to make sure that the board did see the plans. So we've got 2 sets here that we'll pass out that y'all can look at. If y'all have any questions, we can discuss it then.
Okay. We're going to take a few minutes and take a look at those. If anybody has any questions or comments.
We'll get the applicant back up. This sounds like you could.
Mr. Albright, if you would please come back to the podium and state your name one more time for us, sir.
Jack Albrecht, Cheerful Place.
Just a couple of questions.
Sure.
So the building materials will be the same as the building that's presently up,
Exactly the same.
and the roof will be the same.
Same.
Good, all right. And the question for staff on the drainage with the blacktop, is that the drainage sufficient for what we're trying to do here?
Yes, sir. On C2 of the civil plans, you'll see the pre and post flow calculations. The post flow calculations are less than the pre-existing condition, which is acceptable.
Do you have any issues with what you see within the plans? Everything?
No, sir. It is a relatively small development with a relatively small pond, so there's no major issues on the drainage side of things.
Very good. Any other questions or comments for the applicant?
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the plans as submitted, dated 9/10/18.
We have a motion to accept plans as submitted dated 9/10/18. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for their time. Meeting adjourned.